This live streaming
Go
stuff.
on. Okay, it looks like I'm live. Hello, everybody. Sorry for the late start. I thought I started this, but apparently I was off. With me tonight is John Dillard and the Metal. We are going to be going through Ex Metal's comic book universe, Ex Dynamis Chaos. And how is everybody out there in the chat?
I don't see anybody in the chat, but I'm assuming they're doing fine.
Wait, I'm looking at the live right now. There's DLs in the chat.
Yeah.
But I'm looking at the live, and it looks like it's kind of smushed. Like the edges have been brought in, like the images are a little taller.
They might be because I took out some of the stuff in here, like the whatchamacallit, the bar, the address bar, and the thing down below where it shows the meeting details and the camera stuff and all that. So I think once I took that out, it messed things up a little bit. Did some distortion.
He's probably forcing it to fit the aspect ratio, so it's stretching out.
Yeah. Well,
Don't force it, Rick. You got to massage it, ease it in.
Well, just so you know, not that they could probably get in there easy, especially with you have to admit people.
Here's a good thing,
icon.
John. Remember how we were complaining you can't kick people? You can kick people from the meets again.
Yeah, I can kick.
I can kick someone?
I don't know
whether if you're the one who started the meeting.
Well, yeah, you try. Actually, you should try and see whether you can kick Dillard. See whether somebody can kick each other. Who will be the first?
Probably Mo.
No, only Rick can kick.
Oh, it doesn't show that for the kick?
Well, it has the options there, but they're grayed out.
Oh, okay. So
when you hover, it says you do not have the ability to do this.
Okay, so
mine says you can't remove this participant.
Okay, so only I can do that. Yeah, me and I had Evan on this earlier talking to him, and he was wondering about that. Now we know. Only I can kick people. Let's see, models in the chat and says, DL, what have you done? Darkenlink says, Dillard's circle icon became an oval. Laugh out loud. That was towards the kicking. And then we have a Cliff Markson. Hello, Cliff. How are you? So, yeah, let's see. I know we probably don't have a lot of people here yet, but might as well bring
You got 9 people watching right now, Rick.
Oh, wow! That is good. That is good. Awesome. Remember to like and share. This is, of course...
I should probably share it out.
Yeah, that's something I haven't done either.
So are you teasing everybody with not doing a face reveal right now, Rick?
Oh, I guess I could do a face reveal. Let's see.
I've been waiting a long time to see what you look like with higher resolution.
Let's see. I've got doing all this. Okay, my camera's off there, so I can turn it on. Here. Hello, everybody. What do you think of my nice, clean, shaven face? It's not even on me. There. Now, what do you think of my nice, clean, shaven face? Everybody. There we go. I haven't even shared this out yet. So let me share this out.
Oh, it had a nice little transition there with a fade instead of just going abruptly to the next screen.
Yeah, you can set it to fade. Pretty good.
Did you set it to fade, Rick?
I think it was automatically on it. I did not do it on purpose, I will admit. But hey, I'm happy it's doing it. Let's see.
Or maybe it was me when I was messing around with your stuff the other day.
Oh no, that would be in this. Well, maybe it could be. I'm not sure. Metal should tweet this. Metal should tweet his own thing. Also, Model, I was going to tell you, but then, well, I'm not going to say here. Okay. Do.
Yeah, I'm watching that YouTube feed, and you still have not shown your face.
What? I thought I had. Here. Make it easier for me to show my face. Let's see. Oh,
You got it pinned on metal, I think.
I didn't mean to. I thought it was going through people. I'm not sure how to.
I know you didn't mean to. You love showing off your face.
Okay. There. There's my camera. There's showing my face. Just my webcam. So. There we go. So you happy, John? I'm showing my smiling face. What?
I'm watching it. There you are. Finally, you showed up on the YouTube.
Yeah, there's quite a delay.
Okay. Well, that is not necessarily a good thing, but hey, at least we're showing up. Things are going, I think, good out there. We're 30.
You're moving on the way to professionalism.
Yeah, we are stuck at 30 frames per second, which is good. Yeah.
All right. So what's this I hear about Malcolm having a website? What's this about?
Okay. Well, let's get over to that right there. And yeah, it's okay. Now it's on him. Or that. Yeah. So here is his website, Ex Dynamis Chaos. Cliff says, hashtag every face matters. Where do you want me to go, Metal? And is everybody seeing this?
Well, I mean, you could always start from the archives. So my website, Ex Dynamis Chaos.
What I want to know is what the hell Ex Dynamis Chaos means.
It means a bounty of chaos in Latin. In fact,
So which word is bounty? Dynamis?
Yeah, well, dynamis means bountiful or plentiful. Like the word dynamo means a lot. That's where dynamic comes from.
Dark Link says, this is my first time learning Metal's real name. I hope that's a good thing.
Oh, you think it's my real name?
Well, it was easy to find anyways. It is here in, the about section.
His real name is Ian Malcolm.
I'm a man of many names.
But yeah,
but
this is your home page here. Or
yeah.
The home. The home.
And I actually even translate it for you right there at the top.
And so who's this land dolphin up on top here?
The what?
This blue-haired lady in the middle of Ex Dynamis Chaos.
Oh, that's the mascot, Zeva. She's not from the universe. She's from outside of it. She's on vacation. You can find her everywhere. Just like a Where's Waldo. She's hidden in the scenes. And it's kind of like a game to see if you can find her in different panels.
And her name is Zeva?
Zeva, yeah. It means color.
I'm pronouncing it wrong? How is it pronounced?
Zeva.
Oh, now I'm even more confused. You said day, like D-A-Y?
They. Like a Z. Zeba.
Zeba.
Yeah. She's
Z-E-B-A.
on one of these pages.
Like a zebra without the R.
Yeah, kind of like that.
Which one? Which miscellaneous characters?
Yeah, she would be in the miscellaneous characters.
Right there, John. Right there. Z-E-B-A.
You're showing me something?
Well, you probably have to see it on the main.
So why are you asking me right now?
A few seconds later to see it.
You gotta ask me in a minute or two when it shows up finally.
Yeah, when everybody else is seeing it.
Yeah, and she has the ability to travel through space and time freely. So she's on a vacation viewing important events in the history of the universe, and you can just see her like in crowds casually in the background as things are going on.
And apparently these are her vacation clothes. She only took one pair of clothes for vacation?
Yeah, well, that's because she can change her clothes whenever she wants.
Oh. Because she has a lot of clothes in a suitcase?
No, she doesn't need a suitcase.
No, she'd be
She's
like.
magic.
You're not making any sense here, Malcolm.
She'd be like Q. Almost.
Yeah, like, you know how Q can just, like, change his appearance at any time?
Yeah.
She'd be like
She's
that.
a Q then. Or like a Q.
Yeah,
Kind of.
at least with her clothes. Can she change her actual look or just her clothes?
She probably could, she never does.
Okay. So for now, it's just her clothes. You might.
Oh, she likes the way she looks.
Yeah.
What is this other name that I can't pronounce on top of the word codex?
Terzich.
It's Malcolm.
Terzich?
Yeah, that's
Yes.
Malcolm's last name. Or at
Terzich.
least it's
Is that like a Pokédex?
Kind of, yeah. So I make these, like, codex pages for everything in the world. And these show up, like, in the back of the comic books, the printed versions, just so you can have, like, a little extra information, flesh it out, people want to spend some extra time. And kind of, like, make the pages even if the story isn't. And I'll give you different information in those than the stuff I actually type out on the website. And for the older ones, the things that have been out for a while, because the first few chapters of Ex Dynamis Chaos have been out for over a year now, I just put the pages right on the site for people to read.
Cliff says, so she's the main villain. I don't think so. I think she just goes around
She's
watching.
kind of neutral.
Okay. Yeah, she just goes around watching stuff. I just likened her to Q because she could change her clothes, at the snap of a finger like Q could. Something John could possibly relate to.
Excuse me?
Well, you weren't getting it before I said like Q, so.
Well, he's asking these in a way that maybe people in the audience who aren't get it can also get it. Because if John can get it, maybe the audience can too. It's a very good way to look at it.
Yeah.
Excuse me?
You would think John think we were calling him dumb or something.
Are you talking about me like I'm not like right here?
I don't know.
Don't we always?
So this is a cool looking website, but what is the main story we're looking for?
Okay, so the main story is the webcomic of the same name called Ex Dynamis Chaos. And if you hit the archive drop down, it says Ex Dynamis Chaos, the webcomic. It's the titular story of the site.
Yeah, I did that, and you're on there, and you have Act 1, Episode 1, Professional Freelancers.
So how many different stories do you have on here?
At the moment, I have the webcomic. I have another story I started in short form, so like 8 pages a piece, called The Pop Rocks featuring... I also have a few prose things if people just want to read stuff that's almost like the pulp format, in which I have a high fantasy story that started, a horror story that started, and I actually have all of Act 1 of Ex Dynamis Chaos in prose form available for reading.
Okay.
Cool. Cliff says Q was a mistake. His only good scene was when he got punched by Cisco. I agree.
I agree.
I just like that. I love that line. Picard never hit me. I'm not Picard.
I agree. Cisco was definitely not Picard.
Dude, Cisco was the best.
Cisco was whack.
Kirk was the best. I might go Cisco.
That Gordon Goodbrother had no personality at all.
So what else? Where else do you...
Rick, you're interviewing. You can't just ask him to interview himself.
I don't know enough about his stuff. I'll admit it.
Well, that's why you ask questions, so you can learn about it.
Yeah. Okay.
Like, pretend for a second, Rick, that you care about somebody else's IP other than your own, and ask some questions.
I do care about other people's IP. The Buckler, maybe. Okay, so I guess you have them on here, different episodes to read. Like they're one comic book or less than a comic book each.
Yeah, they're all about the size of a normal comic. I don't, because I'm working in webcomic form, I don't like force myself to fit a certain length. I want it to kind of feel natural and when it's supposed to. So sometimes I might cut a page short, sometimes I might go a couple pages over. And that's why I have the codex pages for if people want a printed copy. I'm not too worried about printing so much, but I do the print on demand in case people just want something physical they can hold in their hand.
Yeah.
It's more for them than me. But, if I make a profit off it, I'm not going to complain.
Cliff says Cisco is the best. Hail baseball. So what genre is the overall universe, or does it branch out into all genres?
The universe doesn't have a genre. The individual stories will. So, like Ex Dynamis Chaos, which might have to re-explain after I give it an explanation, probably closest fits into the shonen genre in Japan. But the way to translate that to like American or Western stuff the most is it's kind of like action adventure with a comedic taste that appeals to mid-teen boys.
I've got the first page up here and I see it's in color. So,
yeah, actually, so the beginning, I had been getting, I guess unrusty would be a way to say it when I first started because I hadn't drawn anything like this in.
Did you say I had been getting?
Had been getting. I'm trying to find a way to actually say this, but I had been removing the rust. I guess is a better way to say, because I haven't been drawing like this for maybe 6 years prior, and it's just been kind of like the rust had been building up, and the colors, even more so than the line art, were absolutely atrocious when I started. So recently, I've been going back and touching the colors up on the first 4 chapters to match the newest stuff. Cool. So some pages are done, some aren't.
Okay, so I guess maybe we'll start it with different characters. I went over to your the webcomic one. So up here I have the Metal. So
yeah, who's pretty much the main protagonist of the lead story.
Maybe you want to tell people about the Metal, and not yourself.
Yeah. So the Metal, it kind of started as a self-insert in a way, but he's grown a life on his own. Me and him don't even actually act remotely the same as each other. And when I was making Ex Dynamis Chaos the main story, I was trying to build a story that would be a backbone or explain the world itself, the one that everything else could branch off of, while still being an interesting story on its own. So for the main characters, I choose people that I knew the best, which happened to be me and my friends. We ran around in high school doing a lot of stuff together. I know how they would interact with the world, or if things were to happen to them, how they would react to it more than anything else. So I wouldn't have to build the new characters. But when you start writing a story, the characters kind of build themselves whether you want them to or not. And the Metal is kind of a snarky asshole, right? He's that type of guy who nobody actually likes because he's naturally good at things, and it pretty much gives everybody the wrong opinion about him right away. Even his own friends hate him, despite the fact that they're friends. And he doesn't function well within the lines of normal society. Like, he's tried doing the day job thing. It just doesn't work out for him. So he decided to use all of his talents to become a freelancer and just start taking odd jobs. And through that, he started stumbling upon jobs that nobody else would be sane enough to take, and starts roping all of his friends into it with him. And they have like this little group called the Professional Freelancers. And they end up doing things like exorcisms, or hunting demons, searching for aliens, to simple things like package deliveries. You name it, if it's crazy, they'll do it, as long as the price is right.
So I've got to unusual question. I notice here on his thing, you are using the metric system for his height and weight, yet you are an American, not using the standard system. Why?
Oh, okay, there's a good reason for that. I do all my math in metric. So something that's probably different about me than most people that write stories is there's actually a heavy amount of math involved in the stories that I do. The reader doesn't have to experience it all. It's all for me in the background and making things consistent and fluid in the world. But even though I'm kind of bending the laws of physics and breaking reality to be able to tell this like really high fantasy style of story, I want all the characters to be consistent so they grow at certain rates. They can do certain things at certain points in time that they maybe couldn't do before. And I actually sit here and do the math of like everything that happens to make sure it falls in line. So there's characters that could break through a brick wall and there's characters that can't, and so on and so forth. And that's why underneath you see there's a attack potency at the top of the bio. And I've been updating that with each chapter. If a character does something that the audience would know, it's like, that's a bit stronger than something he did before.
Yeah.
And I actually put that out in joules for people to kind of know the energy output that character can do.
Okay, so up next I have Sentry Sable. What can you tell us about Sentry Sable?
So Sentry is the Metal's oldest friend. Like, they've known each other for a really long time. And he's the one that's kind of had to put up with his crap for the longest. And is sort of like the accountant of the group. He's constantly having to clean up the Metal's messes after him, be the diplomat that makes sure everything handles well. Often he's the one that finds the jobs and everything. He really only puts up with this because he kind of shares the Metal's sense of humor and they've known each other for a really long time. He's not a fighter like everyone else in the group. He doesn't really train. He's more of a marksman. And just like the whole of his personality is, I'm done with this shit, but I'm still doing it. It's kind of like Murdoch in Lethal Weapon, how he's like, I'm too old for this. It's kind of like that personality.
Okay. Cliff out there, so is there magic in this series, or is it considered science?
Oh, that's actually a good question. I actually break things down into 3 different categories in Ex Dynamis Chaos for how things work. There's physics, or what you would normally consider science. And anything in that category does have to obey the law of physics. So if you're like a tech-based person, you have to find some type of loophole, but it still has to be physics. If you want to exceed the speed of light, you have to warp space around you or something like that. Then there's magic, which is kind of like back doors around physics. So they're like built-in loopholes. You still have to, like a fireball will still attack like a fireball, but you can cheat physics and makes a fireball. And then there's existentience, which is like the source code to the universe, and that's like reality warping and stuff like that.
I have up now the Kid.
Yeah. So the Kid is the Metal's younger brother, who is very similar to him in many ways, but they obviously have their differences. And he also takes on these type of jobs that the Metal does on his own, but he doesn't care for like all the crazy stuff. So the Metal will prefer to intentionally take on the most difficult and challenging jobs because he's a psychopath that revels in that stuff, while the Kid would prefer the easy money. So if it's like a light exorcism or something like that, he would take that any day.
Yeah,
get paid and get out.
He'll do the delivery job of the little package.
Yeah. Like, he'll always take the easier job, and he'll take a lot of easy jobs to rack up the pay instead of like the one really big one.
Sounds.
And he doesn't put up with his older brother's shit at all. Like, he talks to him as if he couldn't just kill him at any point in time, and he knows his brother's not going to. And stuff like that. They often bicker like brothers do, like they call each other retarded and stuff like that. And it's really that kind of like sibling dynamic. And it's something I hate about most siblings in stories is they try to make them the polar opposites of each other. And siblings aren't like that at all in reality. Hardly any time are siblings that dynamically different. They tend to have more in common than they don't. But when you spend all this time with somebody, all you notice are the differences between you.
Hey,
So I really
I
try to
gotta go
play
for
on
a second,
that.
but I'll be back in about 30 minutes.
Okay. Cliff asks, what's in the box?
In which box?
Maybe something that was... I'm on Buck now, but maybe it was something on the kids thing.
I don't know, maybe it's because I mentioned Psychopath. It might be a reference to Seven. You know, like, what's in the box? It was a head, just so you know.
Oh, he retracted the message.
You know.
Maybe it was for a different thing. Darkling says, see you, Dillard. Okay, so yeah, we're on Buck. What should we know?
So, Buck, of the four main characters, because who we just covered are three of the four main characters of Ex Dynamis Chaos. Buck is the final of the four, and he's the other, like, actual fighter of the group, the one who ends up doing a lot of the grunt work and stuff like that, ends up in the fray with the metal a lot. And you'll actually, even though he comes in episode 3, you'll see him more often than the other two that we just passed with the metal. In fact, I don't think there's a single chapter he's not in from here on forward.
I like how you...
Buck.
I was going to say, I like how in this one picture you almost have him doing the live long and prosper. Except for the three fingers together and the one separate.
Yeah, he actually like waves like that sometimes, so I base that off an actual picture of him.
That's hard to do, put those three fingers together and spread out the baby finger.
I do it no problem.
I don't know. I'm trying to do it right now. Well, I can do it a little, but holding it is hard.
Yeah, but so being this, Buck actually hates his job. He does it because there's nothing he'd rather be doing more than this. But it's a very horrible job because he ends up in a lot of ridiculous circumstances. In fact, I believe if you scroll up, one of his official job designations is Meat Shield.
Yeah, right
I don't
there.
remember if I still have that on the site. You know.
It's right there. Not that you can see where I'm pointing.
And it's because he is basically there to be a distraction.
Basically, he's
there to take damage.
He's the tank of the group. You know, if we were to put this into multiplayer things, you know.
Yeah. And that usually doesn't matter because the metal, being like a shonen protagonist, is much tougher than all the other people. But I do have stories planned, like side stories, if I can ever get them out, where you'll have like one-offs with the Kid and Buck together, or just Buck and Sentry, things where the metal doesn't show up in.
Yeah, I can understand that. You know,
webcomic is a specific story that kind of chronologues the evolution of the metal as a character.
Yeah, and all the characters individual because they all have their own lives. It's not like their whole life revolves around the metal.
And they're all members of the professional freelancing group.
Yeah.
So they do take on jobs without him.
Yeah. Rebel Gaming says word. Cliff says for the box it was referenced to 7.
Which is what I thought, yeah.
Okay.
It's a good movie. People should watch it if they haven't. Yeah. So, there's kind of 2 parallel plots to Ex Dynamis Chaos they're really part of the same plot, because I treat this like a puzzle for people to solve. So if people like puzzles, then you'll enjoy this story probably more than other people will, and on just a regular action-adventure basis. but there's a bunch of like clues to stuff that I leave hidden in the world for you to piece together. Attention, by at least the end of Act 2, you should be able to tell the direction that the story is actually going, like what the ending is.
Cool. I was just, if you got something to say, you can say. I was just gonna go. Got the next character here, but.
No, I was saying the parallel stories are not only are they doing all these odd jobs and stuff, and there's like a actual arc building up, but the Metal, being the asshole character that he is really into underground fighting. In fact, in Chapter 3, they get invited to the solution of one of the jobs because he's an underground fighter. He is both the commissioner and a participant in a tournament called the King Kong of Combat. One and part of Act 2, there's this secondary plot arc where he is going through the tournament while they're also going back and forth between jobs. And you get a lot of this stuff, so it's not just show or series, right? It's also a heavily martial arts based and action fighting based series.
Cool. So up next we have Kavi Karu.
So Kavi Karu. Yeah, Kavi Karu Tamaduya is, or they just call him Kavi for short, is a
I
old
guess
friend.
so. That'd be hard to pronounce all the time.
Yeah. He's a longtime friend of many of the people in the group, and he is also a member of a kind of like side group in the same circles, Pattaya Labs. He is first seen as an antagonist in Chapter 2, Magnetic Mayhem, but after they resolve that, he just kind of goes back to being a friendly side character who sometimes get involved in things, sometimes not, doing his job at the lab.
Okay.
And he is a kind of like speed-based character. He like really focuses on going fast, hitting fast.
Yeah.
There's some nice evolution with his character too.
Yeah, I could probably see something like that with the rollerblades on. Let's see. Cliff is thinking. Travis says, that's a nickname, by the way. He's a massive weeb.
Yeah. He is a massive weeb. Half the people in this group are massive weebs.
Yeah, and I guess he gives a lot of tech to the team or whatever, so it says research.
Well, no, he doesn't give tech. His actual job is a field tester for another character's tech, which is what the lab is actually based off of. He's actually in the character archives as well.
Yeah.
So his main job is research and development at Pattaya Labs.
Yeah. That's why I was thinking he might have given tech to them, but
Yeah.
he's given tech to somebody.
Yeah, so when the Metal first sees him in the story, or when the audience first gets to meet him, the Metal's on a package delivery job where he has to deliver a package to famous pop star in the world, Lainey Lynn, and Kavi kept package every time everybody else tried to deliver it to her. So they kind of have like this foot chase race kind of episode going on. It's really fun, but it emphasizes the mobility and the speed of the characters.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Because most of the characters in this group, especially the people who deal with Pattaya Lab, all have anywhere between above average to genius level IQs.
Oh.
And because of that, they all act like massive idiots around each other. And because if you act stupid, it makes you harder to read. And they're all constantly trying to read each other because they're manipulative.
And I guess the person that he's making the tech for is this mad scientist, Lord Pattaya?
Yes, Lord Pattaya. And Lord Pattaya is another old friend of the group. He's really into science and tea specifically. He's a big tea lover. The chapter he shows up in is called it's a spot of tea and a touch of science is the name of the chapter. And Pattaya is like this 6'2", couple 100-pound grappler who makes a lot of gadgets, but also works on his own physical form as well. And he's actually a business-minded person. He's trying to make gadgets for the everyday person, but most of the stuff he makes, being as crazy as he is, ends up being too volatile for the average person. And that's why he has the people field testing it until they come down to a safe version. And he leaves all the dangerous versions for them to keep as toys and stuff like that. Which is why Kavi has these rollerblades that let him move at like 100 miles per hour.
Yeah, I was going to say almost like a combination of Batman and Ted Cord.
Yeah.
Because
And Pattaya's kind of like if Kingpin wasn't necessarily a bad guy, but also had a lot of tech.
Cliff says he likes the scientist. Yeah.
Yeah, Pattaya's a fun character. He actually shows up in the very next chapter of Ex Dynamis Chaos after I get back to it, because as you know, right now I took a break from doing the webcomic to do this manga for the Tezuka Manga Contest, which I'm almost done with. And as soon as I'm done with that, I'm going back to finishing episode 5.
Mallet's here and he's saying, "Where is 3D Rick?" I'm right here. I am right here.
Good.
Okay, maybe I'll give Mallet a view of 3D Rick. Let's see. Make sure I'm. Don't come up. Yeah, my camera's off there. And we'll come back over here. There you go, Mallet. There's 3D Rick. Ah! Okay, so we're back to the browser. Right there. And we're going to go to the next character in the webcomic. Percy! I drew her.
You did draw her, yeah. So Percy is a cat girl. She wasn't always. And she works for a underground delivery service called the Neko Meet Your Needs Delivery Service. And she basically has a monopoly on all underground deliveries in the DFW area.
Okay.
And she shows up in Chapter 2, or Episode 2, Magnetic Mayhem, because she is dating the metal. It's actually his fault that she became a cat girl in the first place when they took a trip to Egypt. But they've been dating before she was a cat girl. It's just once you become one, the only other people that want to date you are people with weird fetishes. So despite the fact that they don't really work romantically, she ends up dating the metal over and over again because he's the only person that still sees her as the person she was before she was a cat girl.
Well, hopefully she doesn't
kicks him pretty hard through a building.
Hopefully she doesn't get too catty on him.
Yeah. No, she did. Because he used her. It's like, I thought we were going on a date, but you're on a job, and then she ends up kicking him through a building.
Cool. Mallet says, "Rick, no!" I guess because of all the shaving and all that. Mallet also says she looks like Wensen? Wesen? W-E-S-E-N?
I'm not familiar with that word.
Me neither. I think it's probably a character from somewhere.
But I actually have a backstory, like flashback chapter plan that I would like to do with a different artist at some point in time, where it shows their trip to Egypt, which also kind of pissed her off because it turned out to be a job and she thought they were going on vacation. Security job for some archaeologists that were digging underneath the Sphinx to get to the Library of Bast. And there's this whole like alien technology thing that they uncover and stuff, and that's how the ability to create the cat girls. It's a fun story. I would like to get to it eventually.
Yes, for sure. Travis says either that or a reference to a grim TV show. I guess for Mallet's thing. So up next is Lancy Lynn.
Oh yeah, it does look like it's a reference to the Grimms, according to... He says a Wesen, or a being or creature, Wesen, is a collective term to describe the creatures visible to the Grimms.
Like the Brothers Grimm?
I'm assuming. Yeah, so I guess we're on Lainey Lynn. Now, Lainey Lynn is probably the most interesting character out of all of them. And if I were to go back and tell the story from the actual beginning, of like when the freelancers started and stuff, and not from where I find the beginning of this current story, it would go back to where Lainey Lynn first was introduced to the group. And Lainey Lynn is the currently biggest pop star in the world. Like, we're talking super famous. She can't go anywhere without people recognizing her and stuff. But she has a history with the freelancers. When she was 18, she aged out of foster care, having been an orphan her whole life, and was living in a van in the middle of the city. And during a mugging that could have went worse, the metal stumbles upon this gang beating her up and saves her, brings her back, and starts training her as like a disciple. And all kinds of things go wrong. She's good with the group for quite a long time, but she starts kind of developing feelings for the main character, and he sees her more like a daughter, so he won't return those feelings. And eventually she leaves the group, becomes kind of obsessive, and she keeps coming back to try to either force him to marry her through combat or killing him, so then she doesn't have to worry about it anymore.
So, sort of like, say, Maxima for Superman.
Kind of, in a way, yeah.
Leave it to me to find some reference somewhere. Melon says, is she Canadian?
Yeah, she's also a shared antagonist for the Pop Rocks featuring Mitch and Sandy, because a lot of these people hop over everywhere.
Travis says, basically the show uses as a catch-all term for creatures and monsters of fantasy and folklore that appear human unless they either want to be seen or if a Grimm sees them. Oh, okay. I've never seen the TV show, The Brothers Grimm, or whatever it is, myself.
I haven't either. But she is a very, very powerful opponent. You'll notice of like 3 characters shown, she's one of the only people whose attack potency is close to the metals.
Yeah.
And it's because she still keeps up her training despite being a pop star. Even at like the end of chapter 4, which is Fighting for Fall, or episode 4. It's not the 4th chapter. It's technically the 5th chapter, but episode 4, Fighting for Fall, even after her defeat, there's a little cutaway that shows that she is wearing weights similar to her mentor and exercising because she's continuing her training herself.
Cool. Mallet says he just started season 5. I guess that's a Grimm or Brothers Grimm or whatever. I think you've put some new characters up here since I did my thing.
Oh, maybe. I don't know. I'm always adding stuff, so.
Yeah. Because we got the Juggernaut. Any relation?
Well, I think he was already up there.
Okay. I didn't notice him.
Yeah. Because he was also in episode 4, Fighting for Fall.
Any relation to the Juggernaut?
No, but that is where he gets his name from, the term Juggernaut. And he is a tech-based character. He shows up just hanging out with the group at the mall, casually. He almost always has a beer in his hand. The mall without being thrown out. And he seems just like a normal human type character. You know, he doesn't really have like extreme powers. He doesn't really work out or anything, but he is another one of the test subjects for Pitaia's stuff, right? And he's been slowly been collecting different gadgets and gear and stuff that's been thrown out, being deemed unsafe for consumer use, and building his own power armor out of it. So eventually he's going to be somewhat like a Samus Aran Iron Man type character later on when you get to see his power armor.
Cool. Travis says most of them vogued the term for visible look like anthro animals, so that's likely where Mallet was referring to with Percy looking like one. Okay.
The thing about the cat girls is when they first turn, they don't actually look quite so furry. The name Neko Mimi literally means cat ears. So they all thought after the first experiment that they were going to be like these cute little cat girls that looked all human but had like cat ears and maybe paws and stuff with the tail. But eventually over time, the fur started growing everywhere and they didn't realize that they were going to look more cat-like than human. It's kind of a bad side effect of experiments like that.
Now the question is, for the cat girls, well, no. With the first one, with what's her name, it looked like she didn't grow any extra features, any extra breasts.
No.
Except for maybe the tail. Well, on yours, the tail.
She does get the tail. Her like the initial cat ears, they move closer to the top of her head. She does have whiskers and stuff like that. She does have claws. They are really sharp.
Okay, so I guess
She could probably cut through steel with them.
And the last one from the Ex Dynamis Chaos ones is Reggie.
Yeah, so Reggie is a character I really can't talk too much about because anything I were to really say about that character spoils stuff.
Okay.
But she appears at the beginning of episode 5, a sighting in New Mexico, and she's one of the other girls that occasionally dates the metal. People don't really know what she does. They assume she's like a stewardess because she's always talking about serving people, long flights, coming out of town and stuff like that, terminals. But she just like shows up at the metal's house sometimes, and people will show up and she's already there playing video games and stuff like that. But then she'll be out of town for like really long periods of time, and that's pretty much like the most I can say about that character right now.
Cool. I was gonna say she don't look like the Reggie I know from Archie
Pronounced
Comics.
Reggie.
Oh, Reggie.
Yeah, but everybody but the metal says it wrong. Everybody else says it Reggie.
Well, I guess I'm with everybody else saying it wrong. Reggie. She's a Reggie.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you have the webcomic, you have Pulps here, Pulps, what is this? Oh, Act 1, Act 2, PDF. The Chronicles of a Planet Called Mirrora.
Oh yeah, Chronicling of a Planet Called Mirrors. Actually, probably one of my favorite stories. I've been working on this one for a really long time. And it's a ultra high fantasy, I guess would be the say, because it's more so than just high fantasy. It's closer to the stuff that you see in Final Fantasy. There's like a bit of sci-fi in there too. They have like airships and dragons that could level continents and stuff like that. And it's part of the same universe, but it's a segmented part of the universe about a planet that's got its entire own history with several stories planned in it. But the starting story is the story of 4 siblings. And it follows the death of their father, who unbeknownst to them, was a hero in a great war that happened prior to their life. Dead. The oldest son, the second oldest sibling, gets sent out onto the world to go live with his uncle Jagan, and along the way he gets reconnected with his older sister Anna, his younger brother Decius that he didn't even know he had, and his antagonistic twin brother Mikkel. And Nano-san basically has to figure out who he is in the world. He's on an adventure, but the story cycles between all four siblings. So while you're probably going to be with him slightly more often with not, you also see the adventures of Anacilia, who is a pirate queen, who's just trying to be free. You also see Decius, who is constantly living in the shadow of his older siblings and trying to break out of it. And you see the adventure of Mikkel, who is trying to reconcile his warped views of the world. And all four of these kind of have like this twisting plot line as they travel around this world and uncover like this apocalyptic plot that's going on.
Oh, we got Timothy Olsen in the chat, and he says, that was strange. I had to resubscribe to your channel. Yeah, Timothy, the unfortunate part about YouTube is a lot of times they unsubscribe people to the channel, your channel. So you got to make sure you're subscribed a lot of times. You know?
Yeah.
It's an unfortunate...
I made sure to subscribe a lot of times. And they unsubscribed 80% of those times.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the first story up is Na's journey, and that actually follows him after the death of the dad, as he goes from the continent he lives on across the sea to another continent, and then he has to basically journey across the jungle to get to the country that his uncle lives in. And he's like a 9-year-old kid in a hyper fantasy world that has to deal with pirates and bandits and all kinds of crazy stuff.
I was going to say, anybody out there, if you have any questions or comments for Metal or whatever, be sure to ask them. Not that you guys haven't, but, you know, feel free to. And of course, up next is Beyond the Terror Threshold. I think that's probably the part of the Chronicles thing, too.
No, that's its own story. I just don't have an icon for it yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And that's a horror story that I'm building. It's a horror fantasy about a young kid whose brothers get taken away from him, and he and a friend have to go through the terror threshold, which is a door that the tall man, which is kind of like a boogeyman, opens up, and the tall man agrees that he'll give the souls of his brothers back if he can navigate his way through the world of nightmares to his house. And then he has to defeat him once he's there. So the first chapter, they haven't gone through the threshold yet. That happens at the very end of the chapter, but it's the setup. So there's a lot of suspense and build up. It's going through his house. The world is warping around him. You see the tall man come out. It's a pretty good story. I don't want to say too much about it because it is a very suspense-based prose, and you kind of have to read it to get the full effect.
Okay. Timothy's asking, what genre is this comic done in? And sort of what I was good at, well, not quite genre, but are these comics here, or are they actual
all
novels?
of these are prose. So this is all written.
Yeah, so it's just like a novel format.
Yeah.
Okay, so...
The comics are in the other sections.
Yeah. So he has regular comics on this site, and he has novel type stuff on this site.
Yeah. I was going to explain this earlier, but John cut me off at the beginning when he asked what does Ex Dynamis Chaos mean. What I was going to say is, so the site is like a digital magazine of sorts. One thing that I always liked growing up was reading magazines, and magazines might have a variety of different things to read. They might have comics in it, it might have like a pulp or something in it, might have some trivia, might have like a game or activity. Magazines are fun. You might get interviews. So I want to treat the site as a digital magazine all about this world. you even participated in is occasionally I'll run contests,
No.
like a magazine would too. So that's how it's formatted. This is a digital magazine, so not everything in here is comics. Though I do the main story. There's an emphasis on comic art and storytelling.
Okay. Timothy's saying tall man, fat phantasm. I guess is tall man a phantasm?
No, the tall man's like a boogeyman in a way, but he looks fleshy and physical. He looks like a real man, but distorted.
Yeah.
It's like 8 feet tall.
And you've got all sorts of genres on here.
Yeah.
We just saw the one horror and other stuff. We got your shorts here. The pop rocks featuring Mitch and Sandy.
Yeah, that's another story that I'm pretty excited to work on. I have a graphic novel for their first actual like intro thing planned. I just haven't gotten around to it. I'm almost done with the second short on them. But the Pop Rocks is a story about 2 sisters that have a garage band that blows up overnight on the internet. Like they go viral, and the younger sister Sandy, being a very business-minded person, tries to capitalize on that virality and starts selling merch immediately, trying to get people to subscribe, starts uploading their other songs they recorded, tries to start booking spots for like shows and stuff, and she starts taking very valuable like tour destinations, like locations and dates that people in the industry want, using her charm and charisma. Like really ticks off the people in the industry, and the music industry starts sending their top talent out to kill them. And I don't mean like assassins, I mean the actual performers in the industry. And Lainey Lynn, like you saw earlier, is one of the ones that goes after her quite often. Like parodies of the Backstreet Boys, which is that first short, Larger Than Life. They're called the Alleyway Adolescents. And I've got a bunch of different things, like I have a parody of the Blues Brothers that I want to put in there, certain bands and stuff that I like in different genres, and I want to jump around to different genres of music, because you can kind of make the aesthetic and the battle between them different to match the genre itself. Have like some country, maybe some grunge at some point and stuff like that.
Yeah. Timothy.
And it is very cartoony. I would say it's like Scott Pilgrim-esque meets the Hi Hi Puffy Yami Yumi show, which I don't know if anybody remembers that. Kind of also means like Josie and the Pussycats, because in the main story there is this big thing on that they have to kind of like solve while fighting all of these people.
Yeah. Let's see. Timothy Olsen says the movie series. I guess that's for the Phantasm or Tall Man.
Yeah, I don't think I'm familiar with Phantasm. It sounds familiar, but I just can't picture it in my head.
I'm just trying to make sure I get to all the things, and of course the art roundup lists of fan art contest one. There's just a bunch of art shown here by you or other people. Cool.
Well, if it's in the art roundup and stuff like that, that's all works of art done by people that aren't officially associated with the site. So it's all like fan art and stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And if we get fan art of any sort, I will round it up, and on the next Wednesday, I'll put it out, which is why most of the art roundups, you see there's dates next to it. I haven't gotten fan art in a while, but anytime there is, I'll just schedule it for the next Wednesday.
Yeah, the closest thing you've come to probably fan art is the second contest.
Well, there's 4 of them, but yeah, the contest would be the last one. I need to put it up, I just haven't been doing too much on the site.
Timothy says it will hit you when you see it. Oh, that's good. And that goes over the archives. Well, I don't want to go over all the characters because that might be a bit.
That would take way too long.
Let's see. You do have a.
Well, there was another section in the characters list that has to do with the main story.
Oh, which one?
And that's a Hymn of Valor. And I should actually explain, because there's a thing about the main story that may not make a little sense unless you've been following along, or unless I explain it to you. Because I put a little blog post at the bottom of the chapter for it. And after every 3 chapters of Ex Dynamis Chaos, there is a chapter of a Hymn of Valor, because these stories are tied in to each other. Yes, there is an option for donating.
Yeah.
It even shows you top supporters. And yeah. You can remain anonymous if you want. I don't care. So one of the people do. But if you donate, I keep a tally of what people have donated lifetime, and I'll show like the top 5 supporters on the side of the site.
Yeah, we have, you can donate through PayPal or Subscribestar. So I do have Valor up here.
Yeah.
From the
So a Hymn of Valor takes place in the year 2001, starting at the summer. And it is the story of a young child who has superpowers, but he has absolutely no idea how to be a superhero. He knows how to use his powers too, but despite his powers amplifying everything, including his intelligence, he's still just a 9-year-old kid. And he does a lot of like really stupid things, like say, as he's trying to arrest people in a helicopter, decides to blow the control panel to the helicopter, causing them to crash. Yeah, things that adults probably wouldn't do. And there's kind of like this back and forth, and there'll be 16 set chapters of Hymn of Valor throughout the span of Ex Dynamis Chaos.
Cool. Let's see. Characters, Hymn of Valor. Mac, the shape-shifting demon.
Yeah, some of them I already put up there early, even though they won't show up till later. Mac will show up in 2 chapters. So after I do the next chapter with Pataya, there's another Hymn of Valor that comes up, and that is a Hymn of Valor issue 2, The Day It All Changed. And Mac is another being like Valor. They are equal in power and ability in every way. But Mac has absolutely no desire to help people and just wants to have fun. So he comes over and starts causing a mess in downtown Dallas to attract Valor's attention because he wants to play. And Valor has to try to defuse the situation, making Mac bored with what's going on before, everybody dies.
Cool. It's sort of like a Mr. Although different powers, but sort of like Mr. Mixoplex.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like the problem, because like you can't make these godlike characters interesting. It's like, well, one of the most interesting things about characters at that level is when they can't really kill each other, but you still have the goal that other people have to be alive. And these were always the Superman stories I enjoyed the most. You have to find creative and witty ways to make sure that people don't die. You have to put them in tense situations.
Yeah. Timothy's saying no.
Type of stake on the line.
Now that is cool, but I think that was to you're putting up your top supporters on your thing. Yeah, that's cool putting those up there. Luna, the girl of mystery.
Yeah, she shows up in the 4th issue of Hymn of Valor. There's another character that shows up in the 3rd one before that, but I haven't put him up on the site yet. And Luna is another anomaly like them. I use the word anomaly to define these type of characters. And she's weaker than them. She doesn't quite scale as fast, partially because she's also younger than them too. But she is a little girl who has almost like an imaginary friend version of herself. She's a projection of her will, wanting to make a difference in the world. And as Valor's usually asleep, she comes out at night and starts patrolling the streets. But then there's like this big issue where Knack finds out about her and wants to play with her as well. It's like, ooh, another interesting toy. So then there's this big conflict where Valor has to show up, and there's like this four-way fight that happens in the streets. One of the other characters from the previous issue shows up as well.
Which will probably go
In the
over
middle
in a
of the
second.
night. Yeah. Well, I haven't put his page up yet. His name is Diaphanes, which is Greek for like invisibility or the wind. Something that's translucent.
I thought it might have been the Jim Warren character that I was just about to bring up.
Jim is the villain of the first episode, but he does come back. And he's a recurring villain that you'll see a few times in Ex Dynamis Chaos in general. Including, he's actually a protagonist at one point in time for another story I have planned.
Yeah, because he's,
Bad
as
guy.
I see here, he's a soldier for hire, so he can be hired for a good guy or a bad guy.
Yeah, he used to be part of the Paranormal Containment Agency. But since then, he's split off and become just a normal mercenary. And Jim shows up, and really the story follows him and his gang for the first issue of Hidden Valor, because I thought it'd be more interesting to kind of treat Valor the Dallas area don't know about for some reason. And later I reveal it's because the Paranormal Containment Agency has been keeping the buzz as low as possible about him. Know about Valor, neither do any of his men, and they come in and they steal a flash drive full of valuable information from the Chase building in Dallas. And they're wondering like why the cops aren't chasing them. So they make it down the road out of the city. They're driving, they're practically on their way to Arkansas. And all of a sudden their bus gets attacked by something that looks like a kid moving by. And I kind of treat it like a horror monster in a way, where they're the main characters of this first episode, and Valor is the thing chasing them.
Sounds interesting for sure. And of course, we do have your store as well, where you can get buy these off of Amazon, right?
No, I actually don't have the comics ready on Amazon outside of digital. I was waiting until I had finally recolored all the older pages before I put a print version of that. But you can get them on Indie Planet. Right.
Hello?
And I think the prices might be a little bit lower on Indie Planet. But no, well, they might be lower when I get them on Amazon, but they're available on Indie Planet. I like Indie Planet. If you go to Kablam and you just order a proof copy of your comic, you can put any comic up that you own the rights to on their print-on-demand store, Indie Planet.
Yeah. And of course, the written novel for
Written novel for Ex Dynamis Chaos you actually can get on Amazon right now. And it's actually pretty cheap. It's only $10 for just under 200 pages of writing.
Yeah, I was waiting to get that. Hopefully next month I should be able to get that. And then of course you got...
I will say, it is worth reading even if you plan on reading in a comic form, because there are differences between the novel and the comic adaptation of it.
Yeah, because you say a lot more. You can be a lot more wordy in the written
Slightly intentionally change a few things.
And of course, here's all your apparel, which is sort of all mixed up.
Signed up at one point in time, but like to its new blocks format, and it screwed everything up on me. I need to go into like the CSS and like manually adjust each of the pictures to line up properly.
Yeah, I know. I hate it when all that stuff gets messed up too. I have to. Well, I did a bunch of messing with the HTML, the coding, and I got it so all my stuff lines up.
And I've just been like, I'm just so busy on trying to get this manga done by September 1st that I really just have not had the time to go in and fix that stuff.
Yeah. And where's this through? What site? Like Teespring or
Redbubble at the moment.
Redbubble?
Mm-hmm.
Which is good. And here's your.
Gives you a lot of options. So I just put the shirts up there, and I have a lot more patterns than that. But it's like if you like the design of something, you just go in there and you can find the garment or mug or whatever you want that design on.
Yeah. And you can find links for your Discord server, your Reddit, your YouTube. Here. And here's some pages from the manga you're talking about.
Yeah, Realms and Relics, which is a lot more of a cosmic story than the previous stuff that I've shown.
I remember you drawing that one.
They're treasure hunters that are trying to get relics, like these important treasures, from the different realms. So they're constantly hopping between these things. I think I just those, yeah, because I'm working on page 37 right now. I'm toning it.
And I remember that you're working on this page, the first one. Oh no, or was it this one? Maybe it was both. This one I remember you're working on my site.
I worked on a couple of the pages on your stream, yeah.
Yeah. And probably some that I didn't see you working on too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice that you got all this stuff up here for free at the moment.
Yeah, well, so I've always been a big fan of webcomics in general, like going way back into the age of the internet. But I've also, one of the things I liked about it is I've always been a fan of the, I guess, tip model, where people who will take the brunt of the expense on themselves up front, put everything out and be like, hey, if you like it, toss me a dime here and there. You know, it's like, I don't want you to put the onus on yourself to potentially buy something that you won't like. Because there's so much of that, it's like buyer beware. And you know how crappy a lot of comics tend to be these days?
Well,
and I figured,
yeah,
if you like it, you could just, pay me what you think it was worth.
I think that's Percy from John.
Mm-hmm.
Second place winner for your, Yoko Kurushu.
Yoko Keishira, she's one of the Mira characters. She's actually the mother of the 4 siblings that are the main characters of that story.
And the grand prize winner for your fan art contest. Third prize winner, Evan Hotep.
Which I still need to get those prizes out.
Yeah. Here's one that I drew in color from that contest. Second one. Oh, you put a background to it. Or did I do that?
You did.
Okay.
I didn't do anything to anybody's art.
Because it looks a bit weird, the background. I think something got lost in translation when I converted it to PNG.
Maybe.
And there's your Zebra character. Hey, Christopher, how is it going? We're just going over Ex Dynamis, Malcolm, the Metals site. Ex Dynamis Chaos is universe. And there's a version of the metal. Oh, that's a pretty good one. That's Lainey Lynn there. And this is Freya. Zeba. Definitely got a lot on this. Anything
Yeah.
else? Anything? Cliff says Phantasm is a good series. Anybody got any questions or whatever, or anything you want to go over? I know I should be asking questions, but I don't know what to ask. We've talked a lot, so over time, it's
Yeah. We've just never spent a lot of time on it individually.
yeah,
Yeah, well, because I have, like I said, with Realms and Relics, it's probably the most cosmic, like story that I've put out so far.
yeah,
I actually have like this huge, in-depth like construction of the cosmology of the world, like how the world tree works, how the realms interact with each other. I have like explanations for almost every major mythology that's existed and stuff, and it's all interconnected in a way that actually makes sense to the mythology it's coming from. I do a lot of research and a lot of like meticulous put a lot of effort into it, a lot of meticulous effort to make sure that things don't get broken. Because one of the things that always upsets me is when I read something like Marvel or DC and they just kind of like take whatever myth they want because it's a name that people know of and then kind of haphazardly use it however they like, with no respect to the mythology. It bothers me. Mythology is actually one of the first things I ever studied in life as a young kid.
yeah.
I was reading like college level myth books when I was in elementary school. And that's actually what got me interested in comics in the first place, because when I ran out of mythology books to read, the librarian pointed me over to like trade paperbacks and stuff like that. Because comics are kind of like modern mythology in many ways. Like a great deal of respect for how the myths work. And I need them to work a certain way for the world to work, but I want to make sure that they work in a way that they still relate to their source.
Yeah. Over here.
How do I feel about Thor in the Marvel comics? I like Thor as a character, but I have a lot of reservation when it comes to how Marvel's Thor operates. Because he doesn't feel like Thor.
Yeah.
Like, first off, Thor is notably a redhead in the myths. He's also a drunkard and a battle-crazed warrior that they only get in the comics, like, half the time.
Well, I guess you would.
But it's not so much Thor, it's the people related to him, right? Like, Loki is not Thor's brother. If anything, he's probably his uncle. He's probably actually Odin's brother. There's a lot of scholarly research that leads people to believe that while the Edda doesn't specifically say this, there's a lot of side resources, and it was probably commonly understood through the metaphors of the day that Loki and Odin were brothers.
So they got it wrong. Instead of Thor and Loki, it's Odin and Loki.
Yeah. And there's just like a bunch of things. Like Lao Fei was Loki's mother in myths. Yeah, and they really never said she was a giant either. Though you can assume she was a giant. All of them should be giants because Odin's great grandfather is technically a mirror because his grandfather came out of a mirror. So they all come from giants. Odin's mother was probably a giant, which means Loki's would be too, but the only description you actually get of Loki's mother, Lao Fei, is that she was full of bush or full of leaves, is the metaphor, which in the context would translate to being kind of top-heavy. So she probably had an ample bosom. That's all we know about that character.
Let's see. Timothy says, what about Hercules? Christopher says, damn Ginger. The drunken part checks out. Odin might be part giant. Darkenlink says, how goes things? Odin, like Zeus, slept around a lot. Yeah, you have a lot of I'd say the mythologies have a lot of things in common, for lack of a better word.
A lot of overlap, yeah. Heracles, I think, is actually probably closer to the character in Marvel Comics, but I still like the way they portray him. You actually get to meet Heracles in Act 2, Episode 2. So that'll be the 18th chapter of Ex Dynamis Chaos.
So how do you think the way that they did Thor and the Asgardians in Stargate?
Well, Stargate's interesting. I feel like, despite all the gods being made more practical, right? They actually do a better job at relating to the gods in a way that it makes sense to mythology. Because instead of trying to change their personalities, instead of trying to change the backstories of these characters and say that they got it wrong in the myths, what they do is they just try to explain why the humans or other species might think they were this way using the technology that they have. So I actually don't really dislike the way that they handled the Asgardians in Stargate.
Cliff says, which mythology is the best? Egyptian, Norse, Roman, Greek? And he does put this in there, or some other mythology you know about.
Oh, I don't really think there's a best, because they all have their own merits in different ways, and it's really just the historical culture of the people. It helps you understand them well. It's how they viewed the world, right? It was their understanding of how the world worked at the time. They'll have their merits. I do have a partial bias towards Greek mythology, but not by so much. I like almost all of them. I like Japanese Shinto mythology is really fun too. A lot of the early Han Chinese stuff is pretty fun. There's even a lot of like African myths, a lot of them outside of Egypt, because Egypt is more of a Middle Eastern myth set than anything else. But there's a lot of like mid to southern African stuff that's fun. They all have their merits.
Christopher says giants with big jugs. This guy makes a lot of sense. Of course, if you're a giant, you'd have big jugs. At least to, somebody.
Yeah, but they would be proportionately big jugs.
Yeah. To us, they'd look big,
Yeah.
Timothy says he has a book of Greek mythology. Christopher says Stargate is the best. Christopher's asking movie or TV. I think that's for Stargate. Technically there was more than one Stargate movie, but the second and third one were based more on the TV series than the original.
Which is weird, because in a roundabout way, they'd still be based on the first movie, because the TV series is based on the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, a really fun myth set that a lot of people don't look into. It comes from my most predominant cultural heritage, and that's the Gallic people, often incorrectly called the Celtic people. And specifically the British Isles, the Irish, Scottish, Welsh set of people. And they have like their own, there's a trickster god named Lu, who's also like their sky father. So instead of like, he is a storm god, but he has like the personality of Loki to a degree. He'll help you, but you don't know if you should really trust him. A lot of times he'll trick you into doing something that's good for you and stuff like that. He's a really interesting character. There's also the Morrigan, which is where the idea of Morgana, the witch from the Merlin stories. And the Morrigan god who lives in the mists, and she sends her crows out, or her ravens, to collect the souls of the dead in a very similar way to Odin doing so with his Valkyrie. And there's even this really cool Herculean character named Cuchulainn. It is pronounced Cuchulainn. You've seen it say Cuchulainn. That's not how you pronounce the guy. It's Cuchulainn. And he's kind of like the Incredible Hulk before the Incredible Hulk was a thing. kind of lean, wrestly Irish man who would fight with a sword and a shield. But he would go into these like fits of madness or rage where he'd like turn himself inside out and become like this big hulking beast that would tear people apart on the battlefield.
Okay, Timothy says, I do have an interest in Norse mythology, being that my ancestry is from Norway. And Cliff says, what is your opinion of the introduction of the Vanir, the Pegasus Asgardians in the Stargate universe? Was that in the Stargate universe? Oh, yeah, must be.
Yeah. So here's the interesting thing with what they did with that. They actually followed it fairly close to how it worked in the Norse mythology to a degree. Because in Norse, the Vanir are basically like duplicates of the Aesir, right? Because Vanaheim is almost like another realm like Asgard in a way. It's the home of the Vanir. And it used to be completely separated. It was almost like another Midgard 2. The Von are widely just like man. But the Vanir, which if you had IR or AR to the end of the word, it pluralizes it. And often, even if you're talking about just one god, you'll refer to them as a plural version of this whatever race they were, because that's what they're worth. And the Vanir had leaders like Freyja, Freyr, Ulf, Njordr, and stuff, and they kind of like parallel Odin, Frigr, and all the other equivalent gods. And what we think is they were the same gods at one point in time, but then as tribes split, they developed their own versions of them.
Yeah.
And when the tribes were conquered and brought back together, they didn't want to get rid of the old versions because you have to kind of get people to get along. So they brought them in. The Vanir moved into Asgard, and you end up with duplicates. So both Frigr and Freyja live side by side, even though they're basically the same person. The difference is, though, in the Vanir, the wife of the head of their tribe, instead of Ulf being the leader, Freyja is. And it's... I feel Stargate did a good job because they kind of treated them like they were the same people but different.
Oh. We have John joining us again. Christopher says...
Hey guys, what's up?
Not a lot.
What is up?
Christopher's in the chat says, so I jumped in later. Where's Rick? I am right here. We've just had Metal talking a lot because we are been going over his universe, a little bit of Ex Dynamis Chaos on his website by the same name, which there is a link to in the description. And did he catch the itchy going around? No, I never caught anything. And yes, Timothy, I did shave.
Oh, I think he's asking if I caught the itchy because I keep rubbing my nose. No.
Ooh, look at me on camera. I look all thin.
And Timothy says, what's up, Dillard?
I'm gonna tell you what's up, Rick. Can I tell you what happened to me?
I guess so.
All right. Okay. Look. Apparently, I got volunteered to go and pick up some food from Marie Callender's. Marie Callender's is 17 minutes away, in good traffic, and I had to bring it back, right? So it took a long time. But it's the most fantastic meal I've had in forever, dude. They have like they're no longer offering like food like regular people, like regular restaurant food. They're offering only like packages, like family, almost like El Pollo Loco family packs. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So you get like turkey dinners. I got turkey dinner and a turkey pot pie. Oh my god, it was so good. But that's about it. So I was very upset to begin with, but then very happy overall.
Cool. Christopher, I think, is asking whether you are selling anything.
I'm always selling stuff.
Well,
you go to my site to the store, there's links to all kinds of stuff that I'm selling.
And there's a bunch of free stuff, free comics that you can read there as well.
You have to buy anything. You can enjoy stuff for free. If you enjoy it, though, I would appreciate any tip that you feel is necessary. I'm not going to turn away money.
Timothy says about time for me for shaving. Timothy says also story time that was done. Christopher says they make a nice frozen chili pot pie. And I think the wow from Timothy is for the free stuff over on your site. So we are caught up with the chat. Now, is it showing my face when I talk on screen in the chat?
No, never.
Okay, so it's just going between you two.
Yeah, well, that's why before we started,
That's
I
right.
had recommended that you deactivate your webcam in the meetup.
Yeah.
And just have it in OBS. You could have left it in a corner or something, and you'd always be on the screen.
Oh, yeah. Oh, actually, do I have it here?
Always be on screen. Rick Piper loves the sound of that.
Let's see. Yeah, I can probably do that. I was just hoping, my face would appear when I'm talking there.
And Christopher C also adds, also your sound sucks.
Yes, we know. We're working on everything slowly.
Oh, damn, I got even more skinny now. Look at that.
Oh man, I can't afford to get any skinnier.
You're not even there anymore. I just see headphones. That's all I see.
I could turn into a piece of paper with a bunch of headphones on them.
Okay. There we go. Everything's back the way it should be. So what if they can't see me? They can hear me. Let's see. Travis says nope.
Yeah, I'm just seeing a black screen now. Oh no, Metal's back.
Yeah.
Burn darkness, says Cliff. Timothy says burn, and then. So, any more stuff to your story, Dillard?
I'm trying to remember where we were at. We got distracted because we started talking about mythology.
Yeah.
Which, the current story that I'm working on for the manga has a lot to do with mythology. The realms they jump around are the 9 realms from Norse mythology. And the god Norther, from the Vanir, and the goddess Nerthis do show up in here, as well as a bunch of Valkyr.
Let's see, Timothy, but as you know, your sound sucks. Yeah, so hopefully we'll be working on that in the next day or two. Hey, we've got OBS working. I think it's coming through flawlessly for the most part, except for, my sound. There's no hiccups. We're getting people in something like Google Hangouts on, so this is...
You're saying a bunch of stuff. I don't think anybody understands what you're saying because it's all just garbled.
Alright, you're telling me what I said now.
Sounds the exact same.
But, yeah, everything's, slowly improving. Christopher C. says, we all know Piper's voice in the dark.
Oh my god, a volcano erupted?
What?
Oh my god! It looks like the end of the world!
It's the end
Yeah,
of
the world ends every
world
day.
as we know it. Rick's show is brought to you by Surround Sound of Suck. We went through a lot of your website and all that, so now I think we're just sitting around talking. I guess I could ask how you got into comics in the first place.
Yeah, well, I was starting to talk about that too. It's weird because I got into comics in kind of the reverse way that most people get into mythology. Because a lot of people will read comics and they'll see mythological characters in it, and it'll get them interested into reading up about it. But when I was growing up, I was really interested in mythology. in grade school, I actively went to the library and started checking out like college level books on mythology from the library. And at one point in like the 3rd grade, I ran out of books to read. So I started talking to the librarian. I was complaining that there were no books. I was wondering when more would come in. And turns out our library is mostly donations. So it's whenever somebody would add something. And they asked me what I liked about the books. And I started talking about the heroes and the journeys and the complex worlds. So the library turned me onto some trade paperbacks that we had in the kids section. So I started reading like really old comics back in the 90s. I didn't even know like what the 90s comics were going on like at that time until later on. I was playing catch up for many years.
Did you say really old comics in the 90s? So these comics were from the 90s or from before?
No. In the 90s, I was reading old comics because I was playing catch up for many years.
So you were reading comics from, the 50s, 60s, 70s,
Yeah.
in the 90s. Okay.
Yeah. I didn't even know like what was going on in the comics that were new at that time until years later because I was playing catch up.
Okay. Cliff says, brought to you by the end of the world. Christopher C. says, we got sidetracked with Giant Woman's proportionate jokes. And you weren't here when we were talking about mythology and giant people and giant women, and because they're giant women, they have giant jugs, or at least they have giant jugs as far as we
allow Faye wouldn't just have giant jugs because being a giant, she would have proportionately giant jugs, so bigger than other giants her size.
Oh, okay. So she'd be the triple D or whatever, what our big,
Yeah, like the
big
equivalent to. But what's weird is I actually started drawing comics before I got interested in them. As comic books, anyway. I always read the funny papers. I think everybody did.
No.
And I like the paneled storytelling methods. So back in like the early 3rd grade, we were taught how to like fold books in a way. I didn't even staple these. We were taught like this way to cut the like brim of the page so they would fold into each other and get like these seamlessly opening books. And I would draw like really crummy 20-page comics back in like the 3rd grade.
Oh, cool.
I didn't even know what a comic book was at the time.
There we go. There's me on screen. Everybody. Christopher C. says, yummy. So you even got into drawing comics before you were doing comics. So I guess who's your favorite hero of all the superheroes or all the comics? Excluding your universe.
No, I would probably want to work outside my universe. I wouldn't want to show some like extreme self-bias. Though in my universe, it would probably actually be the Pop Rocks. I really like the character growth that I have designed for those characters. They're gonna grow quite a bit. They'll be fun. But of all time, character got ruined, and that makes me sad. Because my favorite character actually used to be Carol Danvers. I know hardly anybody says this, but I used to really like Miss Marvel, especially during the Warbird run when I eventually caught up to that. But man, in 2012, they decided they didn't want her to be a character anymore.
Yeah.
So I'm probably going to have to say Gambit is probably my favorite hero. Constantine between those two. I really like Constantine too.
Christopher C. says, there's our boy. Timothy says, Rick, stop being so vain. Well, as you may look at YouTube, I've altered the Google Meet thing so, I can be shown as well at the same time. Although, I did put, my guests bigger than me, so... Christopher says, digging the mustache, it makes you look dangerous. No, not Raven. And I'm gonna have to get something to fill in the background here. Let's see. I guess. Oh, who is your favorite villain?
Oh, my favorite villain. Probably Victor Von Doom.
Okay. Why?
Yeah, I would say easily Victor Von Doom. He's just the best villain.
Okay, just give me a second. I'm just getting some file here. Yeah, I actually like Cara Danvers before when she was Miss Marvel. Well, not in the skimpy Miss Marvel uniform, but when she was in the full suit, sort of Miss Marvel. I do not like her as Captain Marvel, not in the least.
I don't think any honest person likes her when she became Captain Marvel. Yeah, it could be worse. It could be Dr. Demonicus. Which is that's a thing that me and Travis say all the time when things are bad. If something bad happens, like, could be worse, you could be Dr. Demonicus, who is like a little known, not so super villain in the Marvel universe, who tried to give himself superpowers by rolling around in nuclear waste, but all he did was give himself cancer, and he basically blew all of his fortune trying to get rid of it. So then he became a supervillain. At one point, though, he actually did do some crazy stuff. Like, he took over Godzilla and attacked the Avengers with him. But overall, he's just like this really bad villain that never gets anything done.
Lovely, lovely. John's still here? Yeah, he is. Here, still here.
Yeah, what do you want?
Nothing, just you're being quiet, so I didn't realize whether you're here or not.
Oh, yeah.
So, anybody have any questions? Anybody more have any questions for Metal about his universe or just in general? Christopher C. sounds like his life story.
I got a question. What gives?
I don't know what kind of question that is.
I got a question. Where you get off?
Usually inside women.
Nasty pervert.
Timothy says, sort of like Professor Chaos.
I love Professor Chaos. Butters from South Park.
Darkenlink says, what's metal ore made out of? I have no idea what he means with that. Timothy said, did John get thinner? Did you piss off some gypsies? And how is everybody liking my new setup too? You know, with being able to do this like this.
I hate it. I can't even see myself.
Well, maybe if you opened up your camera, you'd be able to see yourself. John?
I don't know. I got the splash of colors behind the... I don't like it at all. I think you need to figure out a new setup.
Well, are you liking it better than using StreamYard? Do you like the fact that I'm able to use OBS and we can come on?
No. Actually, no. I prefer StreamYards to this.
Darkenlink says Kent is better now.
Well, I think you actually can set it to where both of us are on the screen at the same time. Side by side. Because I have both of you on my screen at the same time. And you should also be able to go into filters and add a crop filter later on. And you can crop away like the URL bar and stuff like that if you want to leave that stuff hidden.
There, I think.
So, Rick, I made a new animation. Did you happen to catch it?
Number 2, or is this a number 3?
And number 2, Rick.
I caught
Robo Rick.
Yeah, that's what I should draw Robo Rick before you get to draw Robo Rick.
Well, I already created the character, so it doesn't really matter if you draw it first or not.
Timothy asks, so Rick, is this the new computer you are using? Yes, it is. Darkenling says, what is metal made out of?
Well, it's the metal. It's actually one of the 5 elements in the Chinese Tao. And it actually represents entropy more than it does physical metal.
Yeah, those Chinese don't know what they're doing, am I right?
Christopher says, what's up with the heads behind Rick? The shit would creep me out looking over my shoulder. It's just things that I can put hats on or whatever. I originally got it to be able to put masks on to do stuff on the mask, paint on the mask.
I remember buying you for Christmas like 2 years ago, or your birthday or something. I don't recall exactly what it was, but I do remember buying you like a triptych of sorts. It was like a
5-piece thing. See all those little lines up there on my wall by the.
Yeah, I see those lines. What about them?
The picture was up there, but they came down.
Why?
I don't know why, but the glue on the pads or whatever wasn't sticky enough to keep them up there. They were up there for, I don't know, a couple months, if that, and they fell down.
Why didn't you put them back up?
I've been meaning to, but I got to get some decent stuff for the back so they'll stick longer or forever. But yeah,
you were just saying a little while ago how you might want to get a background going on now that people can see your screen. So it's just a suggestion.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, Timothy said he saw the cartoon. Christopher says, love the cartoons, John. I think 2 of them. Yeah, that's all there's been so far is 2, right?
So what did you think about it, Rick? And elaborate. There you go, okay.
I like how I'm the brunt of all these jokes.
Yeah, why not?
I guess it's just the course with my life. Rick always gets the bunt of the joke, gets to be the brunt of the joke.
All right, Rick, I won't make any more with you in then, whatever.
Hey, you can make more with me in. Just, don't make me
That's
the
all right. Nah.
Don't make me the brunt of the joke. Make Metal the brunt of the joke. Or
I don't really care. You can all you want.
I know you can with me. I'm just teasing him. Of course. Darkenling says, oh, so he is made out of steel then. You're made out of steel? I guess metal?
No, made out of entropy. We're all made out of entropy.
It's not even a real word.
Cliff says, did Metal talk about the main villain or villainous groups in his universe?
Well, there isn't a main villain or group, but there's a bunch of different villains. It depends on what story you're talking about. And there is kind of like a main antagonist to Ex Dynamis Chaos, the webcomic, but that's kind of part of the puzzle, so I'm not going to talk about that. No spoiler there.
Christopher C says, gotta scrub the crack smoke off the walls before you hang sticky hooks, bro. I don't do that stuff, so I don't have to scrub any smoke off the walls. I don't smoke cigarettes, let alone wacky tobacco, as they call it.
Is that what you call crack? Wacky tobacco?
No, weed is what. I know crack isn't exactly weed. Crack is worse than weed.
So who should I focus all my endeavors on now, Metal? Now that Rick doesn't want to be in it no more.
Well, you can always make fun of Marsupial for being a simp. That's always something you can do.
Always fun.
Yeah. Like I said, I don't mind when people make fun of me. So if I ever say something stupid, you can feel free to make an animation about that. A good sense of humor. There's probably a lot of people you can make fun of.
Mallet wants to know why is the sound so bad. Because it's the thing that I haven't worked on yet. I figured get the video working first. Well,
Ultimately, we just need to get you a better microphone.
Yeah, well, hopefully that's it. I'm thinking I'm going to try and with that program, Evan put on a few weeks, on my other computer. And hopefully that will work with this new one. If not, I take it off and get a new microphone.
So what do you think of the audio quality of my voice, Rick?
Good?
Because my entire setup with the microphone, the little miniature, I don't know what it's called.
Your Phantom Power Box?
Yeah, the Phantom Power Box and all that stuff. Everything all together. And it comes with the stand and a pop filter and also like a couple other accoutrements. Like everything all together was like 20 something bucks. Like 30 max.
Oh, that's not too bad.
The only issue is that you have to constantly be worried about it because it's not as easy as like a Yeti or something.
Yeah.
You got to kind of play around with it a bit.
You basically have to do a sound check every time you go live.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're not okay doing that. I don't know.
Cliff said, why the sound so bad? He had no idea to Mallet. Mallet says, what, Rick doesn't want to be Robo-Rick? No, I don't.
Robo-Rick doesn't want to be Robo-Rick either.
Mallet says, oh my god, glad you shaved. Or what is that? Oh my, you shaved. Yes, I did.
Maybe he means I'm
I'm glad you shaved. I guess there could be that. Travis is like, I think he's already got episode 3. How not to make an interview in the works by now. I guess that's for me. Christopher says, Dillert's radio voice drops panties.
God, I wish.
Timothy says Robo-Rick rules.
So are we just gonna draw out time for 6 more minutes? Is that what we're doing? Or?
I guess that's what we're doing.
Yeah. Well,
I could talk about a couple of the other projects I got into work real quick.
There you go. Let's talk about those
Just to let
projects.
people know.
You should talk about the coloring book too.
Yeah, we should talk about the coloring book, which I'm working on another piece for tonight after I'm done toning this picture I'm working on. We're making a coloring book where everybody in this kind of circle are collaborating together to sell on Amazon because that's the way we can get it to you the cheapest possible. I think we're using the Cult of Raven, right?
Yep.
Yeah, we're going to use the Cult of Raven as the moniker because John bought it from Joshua for a $1. Such a low bid, right? But it's going to be fun. It's going to be Halloween themed. We're going to get it out as soon as possible so you can have it in your hands before Halloween. Be able to get it to kids or yourself if you want to color it. And right now I'm even putting that together. I already have a file opened up in Scribus for it. Rick emailed me a bunch of more pictures today from other people. We have Gary Shipman put a piece in there. He's actually touching it up. I was talking to him. He asked if he wanted to close some more lines. And I'm like, it would make it easier to color if the lines are closed. So he's going to send me another copy of that.
Oh.
Jason Robinson also gave us a piece. that he had already finished before. With Nasser's permission, we're getting the zombie Nasser piece in there, which I think is really good. That'll be a nice addition to the coloring book.
Mallet saying, wait, I want to know about the funding issue for the coloring book or for me? Cliff says
For you, Rick, it's always about your funding issue with Indiegogo. Always. Until you fulfill, that's going to be your breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yeah. Well, Jason got back to me earlier today, I think it was. I forget. He was wanting information about my bank again, saying other stuff about it's hard, I think, about getting Dillard on or whatever. And I said, focus on getting John as the guy that can get the money because, well, I have no faith in the fact that they can get the money into my bank account at this point. So, hopefully, and now I'm waiting to hear back from them. You know, these people get back to me like once a day, if I'm lucky. The odd time it's been twice a day, but that was like only twice that it happened in the last 4 months. It was twice a week.
Wow. Only got 2 minutes left. What should we do?
Oh. I got distracted there.
You want to play rock, paper, scissors?
Rochambeau. Okay, let's go.
All right, let me get my camera.
Let me see your
on
camera, though. I don't want you cheating.
Let me get my camera on so I can't cheat.
And Christopher, if things go south with getting the money even into John's bank account, I have everything set up to go off my website.
There I am, right there. Okay, can you see that?
No.
Let me, yeah. I can see it.
I only see myself in a tiny little screen up in the corner over here.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so let me put my glasses down so you can't see my eyes and look into my soul and figure out what I'm gonna do. Are you ready?
No.
This is not an actual game here. This is how it's gonna go. It's gonna go 3, 2, 1, shoot. Okay. Okay. Here we count it down, Rick.
3, 2, 1.
Damn it! Again.
I got paper. You guys, it's between you two.
Okay.
Okay, go.
1, 2, 3.
One.
It's 3, 2, 1. Shoot.
Oh, I'm doing it differently. 3, 2, 1. Shoot.
Ah, you got me.
Dillard wins.
Champion of all time, Dillard. That was for champion of the universe. In case you were wondering.
Timothy's asking, can you refund or is it too late? Since I have yet to get the money, of course, I can refund everybody their money, and then at the same time give them the link to my website to go buy it. You know, within 30, 40, within a minute or two. You know, you click over there, you click on the one that you want because all the tiers are the same there. Actually, there's a couple new tiers. You click it, you pay for it through PayPal, or PayPal even has it so you don't have to go through them, but you can do your credit card through
Are you offering any sort of discount for the extreme inconvenience?
Not at the moment. I might do the bookmark. Bookmark.
Is there going to be any kind of like apology letter accompanying the refund?
Well, the apology letter, say sorry. These morons at Indiegogo can't get their act together.
Is it personalized letters?
I'm not sure whether they're personalized or not. Cliff is saying sing the Canadian national anthem. Unfortunately, I don't know it all off by heart. I just know, oh Canada, we stand on God for thee.
You stand on the backs of great men, claim to be a country.
Christopher says, extremely inconvenient. Extremely inconvenient. Well, yeah, thanks it is past that time. So thanks everybody for coming on. Thanks John for coming on. Thanks Metal for coming on and sharing about.
Yeah, Timothy, no rematches.
I'm not even gonna demand one. It's just rock, paper, scissors.
It's, that result stands from now for all time.
Timothy says, "Boo, USA." Well, yeah. So, thanks everybody in the chat for coming out and chatting. I hope you all had a good time, and yeah, thanks again to Dillard and Metal for coming on, and Metal sharing about his universe. Hopefully, we don't have to do this. Well, not that it wasn't fun. Hopefully, we don't have to do this in the future. I gotta book people better. Go a couple people and saying, got a couple. You're one of the two people I'm contacting. The first one that gets back to me gets the night.
You just need to start scheduling people in advance.
Yeah. Well, I did. It was last week. I think I tried starting last Monday. I got somebody for next week already. When I contacted, the people last week, one guy actually got back to me right away. Go figure. These people don't look for emails or whatever, But it is what it is, so.
Well, and I do always have more projects in the works, so we should do this again, but like a year from now.
Yeah. Let's see whether I can focus on one of you guys. Well, you want to promote anything, John?
We're still live?
Yeah.
At the moment.
Yes. There's a coloring book coming out. I'm sorry. Let me grab my microphone. I don't have to yell across the room. I am across the room. There's a coloring book coming out. It's drawn by a bunch of people here in our community, a lot of our friends and partners around here, and it's going to be really fun. Now, the hard part is going to be getting people, directed to this, because we are going to be selling it on Amazon. The reason it's on Amazon is because we can get that book out for like less than $6, like $5 and change. So that's going to be like the absolute dirt cheapest you're going to be able to get, like a physical anything, and it's going to have artwork from all the people you watch around here with us. And the Cult of Raven is tickled pink to be presenting this book and giving it to you, essentially at cost. So please keep an eye out for it. And oh my God, yeah. And that's all I got to say.
Okay, and we've been going over metal stuff for the last hour and a half, 2 hours. So I'm not going to ask him to promote. I hope he doesn't mind.
No, I always got new stuff in the work. And if you are an artist that is looking for portfolio work that you can even personally sell prints of if you want, like I don't care, I do have a contributor section in the back of the site in the About section, and I'm willing to work with just about anyone. We'll work on a short, we'll get you running, I can give you direction on how to do sequentials, and we can have you on your way. It'll be just as much your work as is mine, and you can even sell it without me, as long as you only do it individually.
Cool. Okay, so we will see everyone later. Bye for now. God bless. Have a great night, day, whatever.